Hello, guys. So today we are just going to talk about what karyotyping is and kind of how that relates to genetics a little bit. So, if you remember from our very first unit of the year talking about lions, we very briefly talked about karyotypes and how that is a picture of chromosomes that are in your cells. So, actually, if you look at the background of the image that we have right here, these little fuzzy wuzzy X's, those are all chromosomes. These are duplicated chromosomes that are in your cell. And you can see here, they're not very organized. This is how they normally look when they are actually in your cells. The reason why we karyotype is for a couple different things. We can actually tell the species of an animal based off of their karyotype. We can tell the biological sex of an organism based off of their karyotype. And we can tell a couple different genetic traits based off of their karyotypes. Not all, but we can tell some genetic traits. So, with species identification, for an example, there is a monkey that lives in Panama called an owl monkey. I'll show you guys a picture of it in a second. It is real cute. With these owl monkeys, their 2N number is 50, and that makes them female. What does that mean? Well, N is basically just a placeholder for a number. So the 2N number means that you have two sets of chromosomes because you got one set from your biological mom, one set of chromosomes from your biological dad. So if you have a 2N number of 50, that means that you have 50 individual chromosomes that are going to appear in 25 pairs within your body. And in an owl monkey, if you have 50 chromosomes, that makes you a female. And in owl monkeys, if you have 49 chromosomes, so if you are missing a specific chromosome, that makes you a male. So if we look at the karyotypes here, we can see all of these pairs of chromosomes, and you can see that we've sorted them. So in the background picture, they're all kind of helter-skelter, but in this picture, we have sorted them and matched them up with their buddy because you get one from mom and one from dad, okay? And that's a picture of an owl monkey. I think you can tell why they're called owl monkeys. They kind of look like owls. And then down below here, this is the owl monkey karyotype for a male. So you can see that it has 3 sex chromosomes. It has XXY for its sex chromosomes. Okay. Down here, we have Panama, Colombia, and that's where these little monkeys are from. So just fun information. Okay. If we're talking about humans, these are some karyotypes from humans. So what can we tell from them? Well, we can tell that it's a human because we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. And we can also tell the biological sex of these two individuals. So the one that's right above me has 2 X chromosomes and no Y chromosomes. So that would be a female. This one over here has an X chromosome and a small Y chromosome, and that is what makes it a male. We really can't tell much else from this chromosome or from this karyotype because I cannot see what genes this has. I can't tell if this person is tall or short, blue eyes, brown eyes, lactose intolerant, has Parkinson's disease. I can't tell that by looking at this. What we can tell besides biological sex and species is big abnormalities. And those are disorders called non-disjunction disorders. So some of those definitions on this side, some of those definitions are on there. Non-disjunction is something that happens where chromosome pairs don't line up right in that process of making sperm and eggs. And then when they come together, sometimes we get a weird number of chromosomes. Depending on which number of chromosome is tripled, because you're supposed to have 2, so an extra one would be a triple, or is singled, so you're supposed to have 2, and if you're missing one, that's 1. Depending on which chromosome it is, you can die or have a genetic condition. So there are many non-disjunction disorders where people live long, happy lives. We're going to talk about a couple of them. So we have Klinefelter syndrome, Turner syndrome, Down syndrome. If you've ever heard of that, that is a non-disjunction disorder. Being a super male, super female, and possibly others, because we're not going to test chromosomes on every single person. You could have multiple chromosomes for something, but it just doesn't matter in your body. But you would never know unless you get a karyotype done. Okay. So this first one we have is Klinefelter syndrome. So you can see here that this person actually has 3 sex chromosomes. So X, X, Y. They biologically would be a male. However, they are going to be sterile. So that means that they are never going to be able to create sperm that's going to be able to make children. So these people are usually very, very, very tall. They have slight female breast development, as well as rescinded testicles, just some other genital stuff that's not working quite right. And then very, very poor like facial hair growth, and typical male features aren't going to be active on that person. Conversely, if we look at Turner syndrome, we can see that this one is actually a deletion of a chromosome. So a typical female would have 2 X chromosomes. This individual's karyotype only has a 1 X chromosome. So biologically, they would be female because they don't have a Y chromosome that actually codes to make a uterus and ovaries into testes and a penis. This individual would be a female, but once again, they are sterile. So they are not going to be able to create eggs that are going to be fertilized to make children. Typically going to be very short in stature, have something called a webbed neck. So like on your muscles right here, you have like trap muscles, like some people can like puff them up or whatever. So they have like webbing on their neck, something called a shield chest. So their chest is very like out and rounded, underdeveloped breast tissue. So traits not typically associated with being female. Okay. The next one we have is Down syndrome. So if you look at the karyotype that is below, you can actually see that sometimes Down syndrome is called trisomy 21. Tri means 3, and that is 3 copies of chromosome number 21 that I'm highlighting with my cursor right there. I've known many people with Down syndrome, perfectly happy, healthy lives. And depending on it, and like obviously I'm not a Down syndrome researcher, but people can have different symptoms and different severities of their symptoms with Down syndrome. I don't know why that is the case, that some people with this, you can barely tell that they are different from what we would consider the norm, or some people need to, as adults, live in group homes and things like that. I don't know why that is. I've never really looked into it, but I'm kind of curious about that now that I'm talking about it. But yeah, that's Down syndrome. We also have being a super male. So like Klinefelter syndrome, you are XXY. Super males have XYY. So they have 2 copies of that Y chromosome. There used to be a notion that if you're into true crime, people that were like violent offenders and serial killers, they're like, oh, they're probably super males because they can make more testosterone and that makes them all rage and angry. There hasn't been anything conclusive research wise saying that that is in fact the case, that there is something genetically wrong with people that are serial killers or violent offenders or anything like that. Part of the issue with that is even if somebody is in custody of the federal government, like being in prison or something like that, you have to get their consent to take blood or tissue samples from them to get karyotypes. Most people aren't going to want to do that. Some people do, some people don't. So that's one of the issues with it. But yeah, there's no evidence saying that there is a link between those. It used to be a thought that there was a link, but there is no current evidence saying that there is a link or that this causes people to be different. We can also have a super female. So as you can guess, a normal, quote unquote, female, and I use normal very loosely because nobody's normal. A normal female would have 2 X chromosomes. This female would have 3 X chromosomes. Typically, a super female is going to make more estrogen, but that can also have really bad side effects. Increased levels of estrogen have been linked to certain types of breast and ovarian cancers. So possibly people that have this just have breast cancer or something like that. Once again, not a lot of research, and there could be other non-disjunction disorders. Some other stuff that we are able to see in a karyotype is like a deletion. So sometimes a whole chunk of your chromosome could be missing. So your chromosome number 4 should look like this, and it's kind of short and stubby. Or we can duplicate. It should look like this, but it's going to be a little bit longer. You're going to have some extra genetic information. Something else that can happen, if we look down below, is substitution and translocation, where in your cells, and this happens primarily like in the sperm and in the eggs when they're forming, when the chromosomes are next to each other, they actually get like weirdly sticky, and they can break off and then reform and join on to something else. And then this can mess up how stuff is coded in your body. Once you learn about all the things that can go wrong with chromosomes and genetics, it's kind of amazing that we have life. I think it's pretty cool. So lots of different stuff that can happen. So what you guys are going to do, your goal is you are going to go into the link that's on Schoology. I also have the link down below here in the video, or it's on the PowerPoint as well. So you are going to go online to a website called learn.genetics at Utah. So it's by a university in Utah. And what you are going to do is complete the karyotype assessment to match up the different chromosomes. And then once your chromosomes are matched up, there's a little half sheet of paper I have some questions on for you. Just answer those questions on the half sheet of paper and then turn that in. So down below, this is the link. So you can click on it in the PowerPoint, or I will also have that link in Schoology as well. So hope this helps with your background about karyotypes. So go to that website, do the little activity that they have, and then fill in that little half sheet.